Hello everyone, it's Bizarre Monkey here, and today I'm gonna actually be doing something I haven't done since 2014. So yeah, that's a thing. This is gonna be a Q&A stream, because, heaven forbid you guys haven't had enough of me talking about stuff already. But anyway, progress on Fantasia has actually resumed, so I figured now would be a good time to answer a lot of questions that people have sort of had or advice they've given, and I'd like to properly answer it instead of just being a butt and being like, well, I'll figure it out. So, because I do actually have like usually pretty clear answers, but like sometimes I don't always state, and some people do have questions for me that aren't particularly about that, and that's fine too. So, without further ado, feel free to start asking questions. Timer starts now. I've actually got Fantasia open at the ready, just in case one of you have a question about that. And yeah, well, stuff going as well. You might notice this is a bit more of a advanced sort of stream. I've got like the Twitch chat in the list as the Twitch chat. I've got a double of it open. I've also got this stupid like avatar thing down the bottom. If that is getting in the way, let me know. Oh, that reminds me, I should put the timer up here so you guys, somewhere that you guys can actually see it. There we go. Alright, let me just double check that all works. Yeah, you can see the timer now, cool. Alright, so, unless I get a question, I'm going to start answering questions that I've gotten before. Just until someone actually asks a question. I'm just going to go here. Alright. I'll just make sure this works. Fondue. Let me just see if that is working. Let me just change this music. That's good. Alright, let me just check the stream, make sure that's working. Yeah, cool. Alrighty. So one question I get a lot is, Biz, why don't you charge for your games? Because, they are pretty well developed and have a fair amount of quality and work put into them. The answer, I'd have to say, I've always been sort of shy of giving a really solid answer for this, because firstly, there's like multiple, but like basically it comes down to, I'm just gonna basically give all the answers I would give. So firstly, when it comes to game design, I do it as a hobby, and bringing money into things for me typically like makes it more of an obligation, and so I'm just trying to avoid that. I mean, I still feel obligated to make games in different ways, but it's in a way that's like, oh, I can easily just miss a deadline if I want to, or I can push back a release if I don't think it's ready. And like, also the fact is, like, a lot of, even though my universe is very self-contained, there are usually some things that, I don't have the legal rights to. Which under fair use, selling for free is fine. But if, like, making it free is fine. But if I was selling it, it might cause issues. So I just rather avoid that. Like you can see here, this is all pretty much just stuff I've had made for me and stuff I've made myself. All of this is basically in company, but not all of it is. Like, there are some things here that, well, not in this actually, this is all stuff I've had made for me and stuff I've made myself. But in some cases, like, there will be parts in the game where it uses, say, a plugin. Now, I never bother checking because I don't sell my games for free. But if you are selling your games, you do have to check if that's going to be okay. And sometimes this could actually be game breaking if someone wants if someone just flat out disallows, the use of games in commercial products. Well, that just puts a nail in that. So that's two of the reasons. One being that it's anti-fun for me, and two being that there's always going to be issues with plugins, because I can't actually program or code very well. Another reason is that there are other ways to make money off of, game dev. that aren't so like damning for the second reason. One of these is merchandising, like because that you're strictly limited to what characters you or your artists have made. But beyond that, it's like I've actually started doing this a bit, mostly because I've been given very little choice. A very nice fan of ours who has also done work for the project of Fantasia. She's the voice actor for Ye Hellrider. Um, she actually said, "Yo, put a freaking lilac shirt up on Zazzle, and I'll buy it." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because it's not gonna be cheap. But she bought it even though it was like $48. I only got $1 of that because Zazzle was shitbirds. But on the upside, all I had to do was make the design and put it up. The rest just happens via them. So to be fair, the little amount of work I put in is more than worth it for like the fact that she now has the lilac themed shirt she wanted, and I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to pay a cent to make that. I basically just got assets which I'd already created, put them on a red t-shirt. It was pre-made, and just put that up, and that's all it was. So merchandising is certainly an option, especially for things like Zazzle. I don't expect it will be incredibly like a good investment until I find something that's a bit less tax heavy. Like Zazzle is like 40 no like 90% of the money goes to them. I get like 10% of it, if even that. So yeah, it's probably actually about 5, 6, 7%. But yeah, like it's not super, but it's something. And it's something to note that I could use in the future if the need arose. Another thing is like in-game buyable content, such as, just skins and cosmetic stuff. I'd never do pay-to-win stuff. It would just be like, for instance, the swimsuit DLC that I was joking about for the longest time. But then one of my friends was like, "Yo, I'll show you that this could be viable," and they did that. And I'm like, "Oh shit, I might have to consider this now." So in a future build of Intelligence, by which I mean the future game, which will be entirely unlike the original. Shit, I'm in the wrong place. There will quite likely actually be swimsuit DLC and other DLC as well. None of it will be necessary for the enjoyment of the game, and the game will still be entirely free. Fourth reason being that I just like sharing my ideas, and I just love making people's days just that bit more goddamn awesome. Now, there's a bit of a hypocrisy when you say I want to make days a bit more awesome, but I expect to be paid for it. So despite like all the claims that I'm this evil little psycho, I'm actually pretty altruistic when it comes to how baseline I work. And then finally, the fifth reason, I actually forgot there's another one. Even if I wanted to, the moment I start actually making a stable income from game design, I'm gonna be like brought into question, and I may not be able to make games anymore because the way it's set up in my country is I'm on a disability pension because I have several things wrong with me, from like damaged eyesight to like lacking hormones and all kinds of stuff. And if I could show that, oh hey, I can actually make money, they would probably just dock my pension without a second thought. And then, like, the best I'd be able to get is New Start, and New Start is hell. So it would actually be counterproductive to my living circumstances as well to actually charge a flat rate for the game. So in that regard, I very much doubt I would ever release a model anyway. But there's all kinds of things to factor into it. There's 5 of them. There's probably more. But basically, I just like making games, and I don't think I would really like ever charge, especially not for games made in RPG Maker. I mean, it's not easy. Like, some of these games I've released are like 3 years plus of work, and lots of effort goes into them, lots of effort and love. But I can justify not charging for them. The only reason I actually would is, if I had little choice and wanted to be on a marketplace that, was actually decent. Currently, I don't feel like any of my games would fit on the marketplace because they're not quite complete. I'm not the sort who believes in early access and that kind of bullshit, and I don't want to release a game on Steam that I'm not 100% happy with. And even PFC, as glorious as it is, does have some unfinished bits to it, such as the several optional boss fights are missing that were planned, and there's also still a few little misconceptions with not only the art but how it's portrayed. It's very minor stuff, but it's stuff I wouldn't want to be in a Steam release. Like, because when I go to Steam, I don't want there to be any like screw ups. I want it to be like 100% perfect. I don't want to put some lesser product on there. I mean, keep in mind, like, even if I put it on there as I would now, it would be like one of the most quality assured fucking RPG Maker games there is. Because, like, that market is drowned by a lot of crap. But yeah. Another issue I have is, like, I don't have a lot of followers anyway. I mean, I do. I have a lot more than I ever did before. But the fact is, like, I don't feel like it would be good to ask people to pay for an experience that I fully believe is something everyone should be able to enjoy. And yeah, like I said, it's putting it behind a paywall, and I don't think that's a good idea because I just want to share. It's like, didn't your mother teach you to share? So that's basically the gimmick. And right, I was trying to get to this DLC thing. Because yeah, I have gotten actually some fan art of designs I could use for DLC. Let me just find them. Rise Demos provided these ones. Here's the swimsuit ones. Let me just find them. Here we go. So yeah, or aquatic themed, I guess is the better thing, like Peps and Speedos, which is pretty on point. Snorkel gear. Tristy's in like that more sort of like marine hunting gear. And there's also Tribal Tristy, which is pretty cool. And then there's, then there's also a Rolly here somewhere. I can't find, there we are. Rolly, and his cape is now a towel. It's actually pretty clever. So yeah, and then he's also just made these, which I am 100% really looking forward to making into a thing, if I ever can. Like, yeah, Mexican attire. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and there's a really cool tribal tristy as well, which I have actually done myself in the past, but not nearly to this level of detail, with like the really cool shirt and the tattoos and all that, the lizards on the pants. Just because in case you don't know, Tristy is like is an Australian native. I mean, she's a kangaroo, so she's basically the animal, the mammalian equivalent of Australian native. So that's why I typically tend to draw with that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that answers that question, hopefully. The long-standing question of, yo, Biz, why don't you charge for your games? I hope that encapsulated that, because, wow, that took 30 minutes of our question time. But hey, it's not my fault you guys don't want to fucking ask me questions. So I'll give you all a bit of breathing room, in case you did want to ask something, but we're too... Who am I kidding? No one's even watching, are they? Oh no, I've got 2 viewers. Come on guys, speak up. Ask me questions. I mean, you can even ask things based on as who I am, because there's a good possibility, like, there are people in this chat who don't actually know much about me or much about my work, so, you know, asking entry-level questions is not a sin. I haven't actually made an official FAQ for myself. I've made lots of little silly ones, but no just big, oh hey, here's the official, like, Q&A for Bizarre Monkey or the Tracy Jay Collective. I mean, there is one somewhere, but it's like years out of date, and I couldn't be fucked finding it. So, you know, Any questions is fine. I really don't mind. Here we go. We've got a question from Glunkbot. Let me just grab it open in this. Okay, so Glunkbot asks, if you were to bring your games to a console, which would you bring them to? PC counts. Well, currently all my games are on PC. But if I were ever to go to a console that's like got a controller and is actually a console, I'd probably go for PlayStation. From what I've heard, like Sony is pretty all-encompassing of the indie market. There seems to be a lot of games going well on the PSN store. I'd have to do more research into it, but that would definitely be where I'd go. Because, you know, like, these games would mostly work with a controller already. I mean, essentially, like, you're just using arrow keys and WASD, Q and E sometimes. That could easily be converted into a controller format. There would be nothing too difficult about that. So, yeah, it wouldn't be that difficult. It would just be a matter of how, because I'm using RPG Maker, so it would be a bit difficult. But yeah, if I was to, I would definitely go with PlayStation. I think I don't like Microsoft's marketplace nor their stance on privacy or anything like that. I just don't agree with Microsoft on a lot of matters, despite using Windows. I'm actually still using Windows 7, as you can see, because the toolbar is big and there's no terrible start menu. It's this beautiful old thing. So yeah, that's that. Let me change this music again because this is getting a bit old. So, yeah. Does that answer your question, Glunkbot? I think that was a pretty good encapsulation of it. The last I heard, Nintendo weren't even accepting submissions into the Wii store, whatever the hell they call it, the Nintendo marketplace anyway. I have no interest in putting them on the Nintendo store anyway, even though at first glance a lot of this would look like the sort of stuff Nintendo might produce, because it's very colourful and cartoonish and stuff. My games are really dark when you get to the core of them. And a lot of them have very daunting dystopic tones, which, you know, Nintendo does do somewhat, but not very much nowadays. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think I'd mesh well with Nintendo either. Firstly, because I don't seem to get along well with Nintendo, the Nintendo fan base. Whereas PSN fan base, we just end up talking about games we like Ratchet and Clank and stuff. In Nintendo fan base, people usually tell me about which game is better, and I disagree, and then I have to admit that I've played like 2% of Nintendo's games, because I wasn't raised on the SNES. Or whatever, so yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, that's that. Any more questions? Good to see you came along, Glunkbot, though. I'm really happy you did. Like, I'll probably, if you don't get your question in, and if you weren't here but see this video on YouTube later, don't fret. I will be doing more of these. In the future. I can't do it from that, of course, do it. So, you know, don't stress. I can easily, do more, streams. Especially if there's demand for it. Slow Cool. I don't know who you are. Doesn't even say Clunk's here. Okay, Twitch. I'll just... Alright. Anyway, well, if you guys are stumped, I'll give you like a couple more minutes. I'll give you one more minute. 50 seconds. 47. But yeah, there's not much else I can really say on the console thing. I've basically made it pretty clear I'd be moving to PlayStation. PlayStation was what I grew up with. And a lot of my favourite games are exclusive to PlayStation, such as Ratchet and Clank, all of the games. As well as a lot of the creation sim games, such as Little Big Planet and other stuff. I used to play Little Big Planet a lot. Used to make a lot of crazy stuff in it. And I've also done a lot of stuff with Gary's mod, so which is similar, but a lot more like just have fun. This is the engine, have fun with it. Little Big Plan's a lot more, yo, we're gonna teach you. Whereas Gary's mod is a lot more, yo, just guess. You'll probably end up making something horribly wonderful. I once made this like crazy like jet propelled like train that I just demolished things with. There was actually a thing going around for a while called Gary's Mod Versus, where you just would basically build some crazy thing. Like, basically, I think there was some way where people, I think it was just a respect thing. It's like, yo, I'm building, so don't attack me yet. And then when it was ready, you just, like, go around the map seeing how many people you could kill with your death bot. Unfortunately, I don't think that stuff's really around, at least not in the capacity it used to be. But that was good fun. Anyway, time's up. So I'm gonna answer another question I've gotten a lot over the years. And that question being, am I a furry? Because, you know, I do draw a lot of anthropomorphic characters, and I do draw a lot of, like, not anthropomorphic characters, but there's always been a sort of, like, yo, you definitely do draw some stuff that verges on the furrydom. And I guess my response would have to be, I don't really know. Because, like, a lot of people, I just don't associate myself with furries, even though I might meet all the criteria for being one. Because, typically, most people regard the furrydom or furry, fandom, whatever you want to call it, as a pretty schmaltzy sort of scene, especially when you get into the more mature shit. And I don't approve of the furry lifestyle, period. There's absolutely nothing. Like, if you want to do it, go do it. That's not my problem. Just don't make it my problem or I'll kill you. No, I won't kill you. I'll just be passive-aggressive about it. But, like, I like animals. I've had, like, cats since I was growing up. I mean, Pep. Pep is actually based on one of the crazier cats I had, which we called Pepe Le Pew. That's where his name comes from. I just shortened it to Pep. And, like, when characters say, Pepe! Like Rolly or whatever, that's actually a reference to the cat's original name. When Nola is a reference to a cat I had. There was two cats I had at a time. One was Simba, which obviously I didn't take the name off or anything. And then there was Nala, which was spelt like Narla. And that actually ended up becoming Nola, which is now Nola. So yeah, that's where Nola originated from. It wasn't actually a black cat, it was like a sort of coffee and cream looking one. But yeah, that was the dealio. And so yeah, and then the rest of the cats basically just evolved from what was already there. Like Pep's gimmick is he's peppy. He's got a lot of pep to him. He's pepped up basically constantly. He drinks red cordial a lot. And so that's where Sped is just a variation of that. And then I came up with a mother who was like based off Elsa from Lackadaisy Cats. And if you were wondering, yes, I am a huge fan of Lackadaisy Cats. I just recently got the signature. I actually got an autograph from Tracy Jay Butler, who was the person, the lass behind Lackadaisy Cats. So yeah, I've also taken all lessons from her, both when it comes to art and storytelling. I mean, you could almost see Perseverance for Clearance as like a sort of weird take on Lackadaisy Cats. Instead of being based in the 1920s, it's based in like the 2090s, so it's a bit of a different era. But the fact is, like, Red Cordial is basically the equivalent for booze, and Red Runners is basically rum runners. There are similarities. However, the villains are a lot more present. Where in Lackadaisy, no one's really a villain. Some guys are just less good than others. Um, like Mordecai would be closest to its real villain, and even that is a stretch. He's just doing what he has to do to get by. In Perseverance, there's definitely a clear presence of villainy. Like the Naxxonite Order are very imperial about the way they do things, and very violent typically. In the same sort of way some of those like bootlegger criminal organizations were when dealing with people who, didn't do as they were supposed to. I mean, the Naxxonite Order, but yeah, anyway, I'm getting off the question. Sorry, I've gotten a bit of a tangent. But, am I a furry? No, I don't really think so. I like animals, so if that's all the criteria you need to be a furry, then I guess. But I prefer to just say I'm an animal lover, because saying you're a furry or admitting you're a furry opens up a whole new world of, what's the word? Not scandal, of controversy. I don't go to any of the places that most furries are known to go. Like, I have no interest in fur affinity. I don't visit any of those sort of furry fandoms. I generally, like, the only thing I've done in any time at all was, I recently went to a furry convention, and that wasn't to go to a furry convention, that was just because Tracy was over in the Down Under, and this was literally my only chance to get, a chance to talk with her, and tell her, yo, thanks for inspiring me to do art. So that's basically the limit of my exposure to the furrydom. And when I was at the furrydom, I talked to Tracy and literally no one else except the manager staff, who basically had to say, yo, okay, here's a ticket. And thanks for the $40 or whatever you pay to be here for 50 minutes. So, yeah. But yeah, that's definitely something I abjure the notion of. I mean, if people say, yo, Biz, you're a furry, I'll just be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because it's just not worth arguing about, because people usually do it just to bait me. Uh, but in the truth of the matter, I don't connect with the furry fandom. I have no interest in being called a furry. I don't call myself a furry. I may, certainly invoke traits of some furries. Like, for example, I use an avatar that portrays an animal. I draw a lot of animals that are upright and wear clothes and talk and speak and smoke or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, I just don't really consider myself a furry, and I don't really get involved in the furrydom at all, because to me, it's just not for me. Like, I'm not gonna judge you if you're a furry. I mean, several of my good friends are furries. But it's just like, it's not for me. Like, I can understand why some people might have that, attraction, but for me, it's just, no, I'm not really into it, so just, yeah. Alright, we have 2 minutes left. Quickly, someone, give me a question. I'll give you 20 seconds to give me a question. If not, I'm just gonna answer one last question before time's up. Yeah, you're up to 2:15 on the timer, which I should actually put over here so you guys can see it. Yeah, after 2:15. So hurry up, question, guys. Let's see who's here. Once it loads. Alright, time's up. No questions. Alright, fine. Last question. Oh, what's one I also get asked a lot? Oh, what programs do I use? So depending on what I'm doing, I do have programs I turn to. Typically for art, I use a mix of Paint Tool, Sai, and Photoshop. I do all my drawing in Sai, and then in Photoshop I just add effects and filters. And if I need to add text to the image, I usually do it in Photoshop, because drawing text in Sai is not as easy and immaculate and automated. You basically just draw it by hand. Sometimes I do that, but the other times I just am like, that. I just bring it over to Thing and do it there. So yeah, that's that. For game making, all I use really, outside of Game Maker now and then, is RPG Maker. And for the animated cinematics, depends on the kind that are just like me moving pictures around. Those are just usually made in Vegas, and with a couple of little techniques I've learned over the years. For animation, I usually build the animations inside. If you want to see how, just go to my YouTube channel, Crazy Chimp Collective. Just search it, you'll find it. And there's two speed draws I did recently where I actually drew animations, and you'll see over the three of those my basic sort of process for how I do animations. Then I just save each frame, and then I put them like in Vegas Pro very quickly together, and just make an animation. Then I save that out as its own animation, and then I overlay it, and then I manipulate it in the final file in Vegas. And for like things like editing face sets, character sets, I use GIMP because it's got really good grid support. Alright, hopefully that's everything because we are out of time. So yeah, thank you all for watching. This has been Bizarre Monkey's first live Q&A. I only did half an hour for this. And I'll probably do more in the future. Thank you all for watching. And giving questions. Thank you, Gauntbot. Okay, shut up.